Hey there, welcome back. My name is Karston Donovan. This is Crop Talk with Karston. In the past episode, we talked about SCO and ECO just in general. So this week I wanted to do a deep dive. I'm excited about this episode. Going to do a deep dive into the historical analysis in our general area and to see how SCO and ECO would have performed in the past to help you make a decision in terms of whether or not you want it on your policy for the upcoming crop year. So just a quick reminder that SCO and ECO are a little bit different than your underlying coverage in that they are area-based plans of insurance. So they're going to go off of the area expected county or expected yields and the final yields that come out in the spring. So they're going to follow your underlying election, whether that's revenue protection, yield protection. I'd highly recommend being in revenue protection, especially if you're going to sign up for SCO and ECO. They're going to stack on top of your underlying coverage. SCO is going to take you from your underlying coverage up to 86%, and then ECO is going to take you from 86% up to 95%. It is possible to elect one and not the other, so you can have ECO and not SCO, or vice versa. And historically in our area, this has been made a tremendous impact for the community and the farmers, and it's been a very useful insurance tool to put on their policies. So we wanted to look at the historical analysis. In my opinion, that's the best way to make a decision for the upcoming years, to look at the numbers and see how would this coverage have worked for you in the past. And we do have that ability with one of our carriers, well, a couple of our carriers. This is just one of them, but it shows a historical analysis over the past 10 years to show that over these years, if you would have had this coverage, how would it have worked and how much would it have paid in those years? And so the biggest thing that we look at when I look at this historical analysis is the loss ratio. So the loss ratio is going to be whatever it is over 100% is what is for every dollar that you get that you pay in premium. If it's, for instance, 900% here for SCO, that means for every dollar spent in premium, you're getting $9 back, which anybody wants a return on their money like that. So if we're looking at the Hill County winter wheat historical analysis, SCO is about 913%, ECO 840%. If we're looking at spring wheat, those numbers are pretty similar. 944% for SCO, 809 for spring. So if you could get $8 or $9 for every dollar you spent in premium, I think there'd be a lot of farmers that'd be pretty happy about that. So, but the aspect that I wanted to talk about the most in this video is that, in my opinion, that doesn't tell the whole story. I might be a little bit biased in this thinking because I guess it's coming from a spreadsheet that I created, but the secret sauce in making decisions that I'm referring to, if anybody has watched the movie of Good Burger, that's what the meme is referring to here, of the secret sauce of helping you make a decision, and a well-informed, educated decision, is that you have to use the numbers that are actually relevant to the upcoming crop year. Because as a sports fan, it's almost saying like, the Patriots used to be a heck of a team with Tom Brady, and now you have to reevaluate them at their current roster. So once we look into this, if you can see the yellow highlighted area, those are the changes that I've changed when I went back and looked at the numbers. Because for Hill County, for instance, in prior years, like back in 2020, for instance, the actual expected county yield was 42.5 bushels. So that's all wheat, all non-irrigated wheat in Hill County was expected to produce 42.5 bushels per acre. But for the upcoming year, instead of using 42.5, they're using 32.5. So what I did is, instead of using what the actual expected county yield was, I used 32.5 for every single year, because that's the number that you're using to make the decision for this year. And then also because of the additional subsidy that we've talked about in the prior videos, the SCO and ECO premium is significantly less than it has been in prior years. So I'm definitely using some estimations, and this is by all means not down to the exact number. We're making some estimations here, but I think it helps people get a good idea to make a well-informed decision. So If you can remember, for winter wheat, the loss ratio for SCO is about 900 and some percent in those prior slides. In this spreadsheet, it's showing about 700% and ECO at about 600%. So those numbers are a little bit less because of the fact, primarily because we're using a significantly less expected county yield. And I think that's the question that people have had for Hill County, for instance, is, well, the expected county yield has gone down so much. I don't know if these programs will work very well for me. And from what this spreadsheet is showing me is, historically, yes, it does impact it, but it is still, anytime that you could potentially get $7 for every dollar you spend in premium, people would still probably be pretty interested in that. So, and spring wheat, we tend to not see quite as much price fluctuation. So usually the loss ratios are a little bit less. So for instance, the loss ratio for spring wheat in the spreadsheet for Hill County was just over 500%, ECO about 500% as well. So they are down a little bit from what those prior slides said, but still, if you look back at the historical numbers, SCO and ECO in Hill County has been extremely advantageous. So now we're looking at Liberty County, going off of the numbers from one of our carriers. They have about 1,000% loss ratio for SCO in the prior 10 years. And about 900% for ECO. For winter wheat, spring wheat is upwards of that as well. But again, we're not using, in my opinion, the correct numbers to make an educated decision. So in prior years, they were using 44.2 for some years as the expected county yield, but now in Liberty County for 2026, they're using 31.6. So again, that's the number that I used for all years, made a little estimations in terms of what the SCO and ECO premium would be. And even though those loss ratios are less, for winter wheat in Liberty County, the SCO loss ratio of about 624% and ECO being just short of 600%. Those are still great numbers. They are, about 400% less than what it showed on those prior slides because we're using that lower expected county yield, but still very, very advantageous. I would definitely recommend it for people in Liberty County as well. And so once we look at the spring wheat, again, tend to be a little bit less price fluctuations, so the loss ratio being 469 for SCO and ECO being 504. Again, these are not extremely accurate. There is some estimation being used on the SCO, ECO premium and whatnot, but I think it does give people a good basis to go off of to make a decision. So now we're taking a look at Blaine County. Blaine County, historical numbers in the system, just going off of straight historical numbers, the percentage for SCO being 738%, ECO being 736%, but Blaine County is also one of those counties where in prior years, their expected county yield was higher than what is going to be used for the following year. So in prior years, for some years, it was 32 as the expected county yield of 32.8. The expected county yield for 2026 in Blaine County is 29.5 for wheat. So if we use those numbers, actually, Blaine County stayed pretty consistent because we didn't see quite as significant of a drop on that expected county yield for what's being used for 26, but then also that lesser premium. Those loss ratios pretty much stayed the same, if not went up a little bit, for instance, for SCO. So if somebody was in Blaine County asking if whether or not SCO and ECO is a good option, I would show them this worksheet and say, in my opinion, this has been extremely advantageous. One thing also to note, just looking back, is that how much it pays per acre does depend a little bit on what your approved yield is. So for instance, you can see on the sheet here for Blaine County, I'm using 40 bushels an acre as the approved yield for winter wheat and 35 for spring wheat. So obviously, if you have more than that, maybe your numbers would be even higher in terms of the indemnity. If your numbers are lesser, they would be a little bit less. So again, just some estimations here, but gives you a good idea. Chouteau County, for instance, is one that is a little bit different than the past counties where the actual expected county yield in prior years was less than what it is moving forward. It's actually been going up. So in prior years, if we're just using straight what the actual numbers are, the SCO loss ratio is about 446%, about 582 for ECO. That was winter wheat. For spring wheat, it's about 439 for SCO, ECO being just short of 300%. But again, in prior years, for instance, in 2019, the expected county yield for Chouteau County was 44.7. Well, this year, for 2026, 49.7 bushels is the expected county yield for Chouteau County. So Chouteau County is a case where, I guess if I was using my sports reference, the Chiefs were pretty good with Alex Smith as their quarterback, but now they got Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback, so even better. So I guess from prior slides, if we're looking at the loss ratios, SCO and ECO, probably you're seeing about a 200-300% increase in that loss ratio if we are using the actual numbers for the 26 crop year when we're looking at that historical analysis. So Chouteau County is definitely one where, because of that higher expected county yield, it's even more appealing maybe than the others. But I guess all in all, if you were to look at all of those loss ratios and where we're at, especially after all of those subsidy increases making ECO and SCO more affordable for farmers, any loss ratio that is over 100% is advantageous for farmers. But when we're talking loss ratios that we've been showing of maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 800%, that's extremely advantageous for farmers, and it's definitely a great insurance tool. It's not, by all means, it's not a tool that should be looked at as I'm buying it because I think it's going to pay every year. There are definitely years and cases where ECO and SCO won't receive a payment. But if you look back over a 10, 15, 20 year analysis, even if it paid a few of those years, you're probably at a positive loss ratio. So all in all, I realized I didn't cover all of the counties. So if there are some counties that somebody watching is interested in, by all means, I'd be happy to run some numbers for your county. So please reach out if you do. Hopefully this is useful information. I realize it's a lot of numbers, and hopefully it was easy to understand and able to digest. But all in all, it is good information to have so that you can make an educated decision prior to the September 30th sales closing deadline. That's the deadline that you would need to change or add coverage for SCO and ECO for wheat. You do have the ability to change SCO and ECO for spring crops by the spring sales closing deadline. That's why I only talked about wheat in this video, because we definitely have some time to make a decision on the other crops. So hopefully it was beneficial. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a great weekend.